Hello, welcome back. We're going to talk a little bit of politics. If you don't like politics, skip this one. I'm going to label this one 4D chess because it's just happened again. 4D chess. I mean, you know, hindsight's 2020, so let's use a little bit of that right now. We had a Canadian election. That election definitely was affected by President Trump and President Trump's tariffs. Then the Canadian public was played on the orange mad bad narrative and, you know, misled into thinking Trump is responsible for the high tariffs that the current Canadian government is imposing on its own population, because that's how tariffs work. They're not imposed by another country on another country. They're imposed by, the Canadian government on the Canadian people when it comes to certain products. Those tariffs have existed for us. They're unfair to the Canadian people and imposed on the Canadian people by the Canadian government. Has been going on for over a decade. Okay, I often bring up for the fish keepers. You guys can buy an FX6 for $200 to $300. We pay $700 to $800 for the same device. It's not the difference in the dollar value, because that's typically in the 25 cents on the dollar. We get 75 American cents for one of our dollars throughout the last decade. That's typically the price. It's actually worse than that right now, but that's not what it's the tariffs that make the cost go up. The same goes for a cell phone. You'll pay $400 or $500 for a nice cell phone down there. A nice cell phone up here, the same exact model, would cost us $1,700 to $2,300. It's ridiculous. And again, that's all tariffs. And it just goes on, and that's how we get nailed. We're probably the most heavily taxed population in the world. And on top of that, now they bring in the carbon tax. And the carbon tax makes everything that basically has oil touching it expensive, even more expensive, and then we've got to heat our homes through the winter. It's absolutely ridiculous. And somehow taxing us to death because of global warming, 36 million people being basically taxed out of existence, on top of the previous taxes we've been paying for decades, basically since the end of World War II. It's unsustainable. The people are in trouble up here, and the current government doesn't care. And 4D chess. What's 4D chess? Well, I was saying Trump has basically manipulated this election into ensuring that the Liberal government was going to win. In fact, he did so before Carney was appointed to be our prime minister, and then the media and all of the spin manipulated our very sleepy Canadian public into voting for him, because people don't pay attention enough up here. So it's very easy to fool a vote like that. And boom, so now Carney's in place. And I definitely was like, why is he doing this? Why is he doing this? Well, we have to remember that Prime Minister Carney, he basically ran the Bank of Britain. And then he left that post to come here and do this. Impose the carbon will of Europe on Canada, and the taxation setup, and so on. Anyhow, although Trump is opposed to the carbon side of it, what did he get? He just penned a major trade deal with Great Britain. Oh, the irony, Britain. And he does so on the day Carney goes to visit Trump at the White House. Trump waits for Carney to leave before he makes the announcement, but he's so giddy about it that he brings it up during the press Oval Office press briefing with Carney. He brings it up. He says, "I'm going to announce a deal soon." He's letting you know he's playing 4D chess. Okay, and that's why he wanted Carney to win, because now the Americans have an agricultural deal with Britain, the gateway to Europe for such products, to import American agricultural products far cheaper than Canadian agricultural products could ever be under the carbon tax scheme. So there's going to be a big shift in food products, meats and dairy and the whole nine, being shipped over to Europe. And Europe right now has been shipping quite a bit from Canada, which has brought our prices up because the Ukraine supplies 1/3 of farmed foods to the world. Canada provides another third of the farmed foods to the world, and then the rest of the world makes up for the other third. So we've effectively been cut off from providing food to the European market, in my opinion. They're still going to buy from us, but they're going to buy a hell of a lot less now because it's going to be much cheaper in the near future to buy from the Americans. And the British happily signed that deal, which puts Canada's tough guy approach into a corner because we were supposed to vote for Carney and stay loyal to Europe, so to speak. And then meanwhile, Carney is Europe, and Europe with Carney just won a vote, and the Brits just handed the Americans agriculture on a silver platter. So Canada is now basically more screwed than ever when it comes to negotiations. Weaker than ever. And what are we going to do? Start selling all our agriculture at an incredibly low price to China? That's already begun. But guess what? China's planning to go to war with Taiwan. And we're not going to be able to sell to them for very long. On top of that, China's economy is in free fall because of President Trump's tariffs. That free-falling economy hopefully will mean China can't afford to go to war with Taiwan. So it's actually, again, 4D chess. The Americans and the British, believe it or not, who are now very happy with the Americans, are not going to want us to sell to China. China may not be able to afford to buy from us the way things are going for them with their their stock markets. Look it up. They're having problems right now, big time problems. They were having problems before Trump pulled this tariff stuff. It's absolutely going to destroy them. Thirdly, China, when you look at the way they're building up their naval fleet, okay, they're not using high quality steel. They're using steel on those ships. That means those ships ain't going to last more than 8 to 10 years. They're going to start having to decommission the ones they built less than 10 years ago in the next probably 5-6 years because they're going to rust right out. They use poor quality materials. Why are they using poor quality materials? Because they have plans, and those plans are in the near future, and they expect to lose ships. That's I think economy of scale. Why buy steel that's going to last forever when the odds are is going to end up in the bottom of the ocean, especially when your adversary is going to be the West. So Europe got its way. The former leader of the Bank of Britain said Canada was not for sale, but he was lying because we've been sold right the freak out. And people need to wake up because there's a reason that he's avoiding calling Parliament. He's bringing back Parliament. He's bringing in King Charles to open Parliament right before they close it for the summer holidays. He does not want question period. He's afraid of it because there's a lot of questions that they can't answer, and it's related to scandals. So they're getting everything they can before their house of cards falls down. And President Trump took full advantage of that. 4D chess, my friends. Canada's now weaker than it's ever been because the Canadian public can't see the forest for the trees. It's a sad day for any Canadian that knows anything about international politics.